Hey everybody, Larry Lawton here. I have a really good video for you today. I watched a Netflix show called Operation Flagrant Foul about an NBA ref who was making money by throwing basketball games. And I will get into that because it brought back a lot of memories. Before I get started, please check me out YouTube member programs, Patreon, Discord. Check out my book and merch, Gangster Redemption. Great book. Check out the cigar, the Crooked Diamond. Cigar.com. It's crookeddiamondcigar.com. Check it out. We're doing real good with that. And let me get into this. And if you haven't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. Hit that bell for notifications. You're going to get a lot of great stuff. Check out my playlist and Gangster Redemption series. You will love it. Let's get into this video right now. This video is going to be good because it brought back a lot of memories. There is a Netflix series called Operation Flagrant Foul. Now that came out this year in 2022 and it's about a case that happened in 2007. In fact, it came out right when I got out of prison, so I do remember it. I remember reading about it in early, because it came out right around when I got out, August of 2007. And if anybody knows anything about me and you read the book, I was associated with the Gambino crime family. Not only that, I had gambling operations in South Florida all the way up to Central Florida, Brevard County. So I was involved in this and I understand how this all works. And when I watched the Netflix series, there was some bullshit there. And I'm gonna show you some parts of this. So I think you're gonna like that. I really am. This got me so much thinking about this that I had to light a cigar. I really did. It's funny. While doing this video, I said, you know, I was doing some more research, doing stuff like I do. But after watching the movie, so much was on my mind and so much I had to tell you guys that it's gonna, you know, the stuff that I don't believe in the Netflix series and the stuff I believe elsewhere and how it really went down. I think you're gonna understand what I'm talking about. Operation Flagrant Foul is about a guy named Tim Donaghy. Donaghy was an NBA referee. He worked for 4 years in the CBA. It's like the farm system for referees. He worked there, and then when he did that, he worked there for 4 years and he graduated to the NBA. Obviously, he worked in the NBA for a long time, over 10 years, and he was like a known referee. I mean, and they make good money. We're not talking about guys that don't make good money. We're talking about guys, he was making $400,000 a year as an NBA referee. I always thought that professional referees, whether it's football or umpires in baseball or NBA referees, were usually were other successful people. I didn't find that out. I found that out to be not true. They're not attorneys that are working like side jobs or something of that nature. They're professionals. And he was a person who had a lot of time off. An NBA referee works the NBA season, and there's 82 games, and they rotate all around and stuff around the country, so they referee a lot of different games. But after the season, he's off, and he was a member of a country club in Pennsylvania. Well, how this guy got discovered, here's what he was doing first. Let me explain that. In the Netflix series, he says he wasn't throwing the points, meaning like hitting a foul on somebody and then making them the points go higher. How it works, and for layman terms, let me explain exactly how gambling works. A spread comes on a game. Let's say the New York Knicks are playing the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, let's just say the Lakers are favored by 6 points. That line is set by bookmakers in Las Vegas. The line is 6 points. That means the Lakers have to win by 6 or more points if you take the Lakers. If you take the Knicks, you have to get, you just got to cover the spread, meaning if they lose by 5, you win the bet. The spread is everything in gamblers. So gamblers now put down their best. Now you can bet anything in big gambling. You can bet a nickel, which is $500, a dime. You can bet like all that's $1,000, or you can bet as much as you want on a game. Now, you can bet in Vegas in these games. Now you can. In my time, Vegas did not have sports betting. Or you can bet with an illegal bookmaker. That is where most of your bets to this day are happening, with illegal bookmakers. Now, I don't think there's anything wrong with gambling personally. I think that's a personal choice, and it's like anything else. If you have an addiction, and whether it's alcohol, drugs, or gambling, get help for that addiction. This guy, Tim Donaghy, supposedly had an addiction. Now, he doesn't say anything. There's nothing about that in the the show. I tend to believe he did. He had some kind of addiction to gambling. Even the judge made him go to Gamblers Anonymous when he got out of prison. Now, he said he was fixing the games, but he was just betting on games. He was giving the games to 3 friends. He had 2 friends from high school.
All 3 of us went to Cardinal O'Hara High School together. Baba and Donaghy were not friends, they were acquaintances. I was their link.
Now, these guys were in high school together. He says he wasn't that close with Batista. Now, Batista was loosely associated with organized crime back then, and he had some connections in that world because he placed bets. He knew bookies, he knew mobsters and stuff like me. You know, like he knew people like myself who can get him gambling bets and stuff. So he was in that periphery of a life. The other guy, Martino, was working IT for JP Morgan. That's his friend that he was closer to. This guy, Tim Donaghy, the referee Donaghy, he was closer to Tim. They come up with the scam, or it's the scam, that this Tim Donaghy is gonna bet on the games, or tell Batista who he's gonna bet. Now, he didn't want to deal with Batista, so he dealt with Martino. That's his childhood friend. He was the middleman, let's just call it that. He would call him and say, hey, listen, bet the Knicks tonight. Bet the Lakers tonight. Bet Golden State Warriors. Bet the New Jersey Nets. Go bet Boston Celtics, Miami Heat, whatever games. Now, he is saying he never threw a game, meaning he didn't call a foul on that guy to put him on the line and then get the guy make free throws. Now, that's so important because the more fouls he throws on somebody, 1, he can get a guy out of the game. 2, he could slow the game down, make them go to the foul line, and then the over comes in play. And over and under in a game is when you bet that the total, whether it's, let's say the total is 201. That means the Knicks playing the Lakers, their combined score has to go over 201, whether it's 101 to 90, 99, or 110 to 105. That's 211, so, or whatever, 216, whatever I said. So each one of those are bets you make. So he has such a power on a game. In fact, when I was in my prime, we always wanted to get a referee. Getting a player is one thing. The player could do everything he said he's going to do, and the other team pick it up and they still win the game or they still cover the number. But a referee, that's having the rules maker. That's having the guy that can change an outcome of a game easily. Foul. There's fouls on almost every play. There's palming, which is the going on, and they show this.
Violations on him. We knew he did it. We knew we could call it, but nobody ever did.
And what they show in this thing, and you'll see this right here.
And we've got a palming violation.
They're calling. Now, he said didn't do calls like that, but he knew that certain refs didn't get along with this coach or manager, or they didn't like a certain player, so they're going to call it harder on him. One guy didn't like Allen Iverson, so he would call more fouls on him or wouldn't give him, or he always palms the ball, they're going to call that. Now, that's one way. Now, that's inside information. That's illegal anyway. Let me get that straight. But it's not throwing a game, just knowing more information than somebody else. That's using your inside information, kind of like stock tips or something like that. Now, do I believe that? I do not believe Netflix series that he did not throw games. Because I went even through it, even in court documents, it says that he had to admit subconsciously even that he would throw a game knowing there was money on it. Now, he was saying he was getting $2,000 per game, not to fix it, just to give information to another guy who placed, listen to this, up to $1 million, maybe $2 million on a game. Now, I do believe that, but it's very hard to do that. You don't do that because, 1, no bookie is going to take that much money. No casino in Las Vegas will take $1 million on the game, unless it's like the World Series or an NBA championship game. It's maybe some celebrity coming in. But they're not going to take it off a bunch of people or a person just saying, I want to put $1 million on this game. No. What they're going to do, this guy Batista had connections in the life that I lived, so he was able to get those guys to back what he was doing. In other words, he was selling them the picks. They had to know it. They actually asked them, hey, who are you getting the info from? Because what they're going to do is not going to stop the information and not take the bet. They're going to take the bet and lay it off and lay more off. So when they do that, they're making money. Everybody wants to make money. The bottom line is who's making the money. You know, in any kind of operation you look at, you look for who's making the money on this. And it's going to be the mobsters usually. And this guy had a connections with the Gambino, my crews, guys who I know in that game. And obviously every mafia family has multiple bookmakers all over the place. It's the staple of income for any mob family, number one. And this is not no little money we're talking. We're talking millions of dollars on a weekend are taken in by bookies all over the place. Millions upon millions of dollars. Well, he said he's only getting $2,000, and he'd call his friend Martino and say, you know, the Knicks tonight. Now this guy Martino would relay it to this guy Batista. This guy's a druggie and a street guy. So I mean, I believe his story more than anybody. But I think he was throwing games. What I mean by throwing games is he's saying, well, I know that they know the line. What do you think? They don't read the papers in the locker room? You don't think they get a newspaper on the way to the game and they know the game spread is whatever it is? Sure, they know it. Even the players know it. So the players know what the spreads is on these games. So this guy Batista is placing these bets, and every winning bet, he gets $2,000. Now, this is the referee. He gets $2,000. Now, if I'm this referee, I'm getting more than $2,000 to give these games. Definitely getting more than $2,000 personally. So I don't believe that part of the story, that he was only getting $2,000, because why wouldn't he even bet himself? Now, obviously, he can't bet because if he's seen at a bookie or if anybody knows about him doing this, it's illegal. He's going to get fired and investigated and then eventually go to prison, which is what happened. But this guy, Tim Donaghy, is a junkie gambler. He ended up becoming a golfer, which I know exactly what goes on in golf clubs, as I was, and I was a member of a country club. We're all sitting around, we play poker, we play gin at the golf course, and sure enough, guys are talking, and who do you like tonight? What are you gonna bet on tonight? And that kind of stuff. You don't think this guy, Donaghy's gonna say, here, I like this team? Or even if he doesn't. The investigation that came about, let me just go this way and think, oh, sports is all legit. They've been fixing sporting events since the 1919 World Series in the Chicago Black Sox. The White Sox, they called it the Black Sox because they were actually caught and blackballed from baseball, and they fixed the 1990 World Series. They call it Arnold Rothstein's biggest play was fixing the 1919 World Series. Now you got to remember, especially back then, baseball was the biggest thing in the country. And people would go to these games. They had no TVs and stuff of that nature, but they'd bet on games just like anything else. And sure enough, when you bet on something and you got the outcome, it's not a bet anymore. But that's a fix. Donaghy said he's not. But listen to this. Donaghy's games that they did statistical tracking on afterwards, where the spread moves and stuff of that nature. He won 18 out of 19 games. Think of that number, 18 out of 19 games. So if you don't think you're fixing a game with 18 out of 19 wins, now this guy Donaghy is getting $2,000 a game. So he only got the winners. He got $2,000 for every winner he picked. And obviously, what do you think he's going to do? You start wanting money, you're going to end up getting that money. And keep getting that money. When you get wads, and now this was in the show as well, his wife, at the time, Kim Donaghy, was doing his laundry and used to multiple times, they only showed it once here, multiple times, found wads of $100 wrapped in rubber band. Now that's the money that he was getting from Batista. Now, if you give him 3 games tonight, that's $6,000 you're getting. That could be every day. Could be, these guys, these refs work 4 or 5 days a week. And he might give him 3 or 4 games or 1 game or 2 games, whatever the game is at night that he likes. And he said he did it by knowing the referees, their personalities, what they're like, who they might not like in a game. Well, The NBA did an investigation themselves, and they found that 100% of the referees were gambling on something. Now, the referees had a no gambling policy. They're not supposed to gamble on anything. Obviously, even David Stern from the NBA says that that's too harsh, and they actually changed the rules that they are allowed to gamble now. In fact, the NBA is partnered with the casinos. You know, gambling is part of what this is about, and they gamble on them. Now, remember this, an NBA player or a referee, obviously Pete Rose, if anybody doesn't know who he is, he was a great baseball player, one of the greatest that ever lived. In fact, he's got 4,256 hits, which is the most hits by any baseball player, period. They celebrate 3,000 hits in baseball, like a mega milestone, like only 36 players or something of that nature have 3,000 hits in their career. This guy had 4,256 hits. A 200-hit season is a great season in Major League Baseball. And this guy did it for 20 plus years every year. Obviously, if he had 190, then he had 240 or 230. But he had 4,256 hits. Well, he is blackballed from the Hall of Fame, one of the greatest baseball players ever, because he got caught gambling on his own team. Even gambling in baseball is illegal. In fact, I knew the man. I used to go to his place in Boca Raton, and he's a gambler, that's for sure. Do I ever believe that he gambled against his team? No, he's too much of a competitor. Did he bet on him? Yes. Here's why it's wrong. Because if you're the manager of a baseball team and you bet that game, you might leave your pitcher in longer than he has to just to win that game. I mean, you want to win it anyway, but maybe not at the expense of the long-term goal of a World Series and hurting a pitcher's arm or a number of other reasons. But in fact, Pete Rose, is banned from the Hall of Fame forever, for life, and for that. That's how important gambling is. Well, all the leagues have what they call they have a policy. You cannot gamble, period. Now, obviously, they all did. All of the referees did. Think of what I just said. Every NBA referee, was a gambler. And now, as crazy as that sounds, it is. Look at this. Watch this. As a result of the betting scandal, Stern revisited the guidelines on the behavior of NBA referees during the Board of Governors meeting in 2007. Despite the labor agreement for referees, which restricts them from participating in almost all forms of gambling, it was revealed that about half of the NBA officials had made bets in casinos, albeit not with sports books. In addition, all referees had admitted to engaging in some form of gambling, whether it's cards or whatever it is. Stern stated that the ban on gambling is absolute. And in my view, it is too absolute, too harsh, and was not particularly well enforced over the years. The gambling rules were revised to allow referees to engage in several forms of gambling, but not on sports. There were several other referee-related rule changes made. The announcement of the referees calling the game was moved from 90 minutes before tip-off to morning of the game to reduce the value of the information to gamblers. Referees received more in-season training and counseling on gambling. More thorough background checks were carried out. The league declared its intention to analyze the statistical relationship between NBA games and referees, gambling patterns for those games, and the interaction between referees and NBA teams were made easier and more formal. I believe the NBA knew, and at this time, the NBA in this case said that they do not believe any referees were involved. They did not believe this guy, Tim Donaghy, even gambled or threw games, which I totally believe they knew they did. In fact, I think the NBA covered up the fact that there's a widespread gambling among referees and maybe even players. But the fact that they have to protect their brand, saying they did not believe that, is the big case, in my opinion, in this whole thing. Now, this guy, Tim Donaghy, he gets caught. How does he get caught? FBI is doing investigations on the Gambino family. I know about that. And what happened is they had wiretaps, and it came up under a wiretap.
One of the peripheral wires picked up something about inside information going on with the NBA.
We got a record on his pocket. What's his name?
That there was a gambling ring going on, and they had inside information. The FBI ran with that through Batista because they were investigating the Gambinos. Batista came up, and then they ended up doing more of an investigation and finding out it was Tim Donaghy who was the referee throwing the games. Eventually, this guy Tim Donaghy ends up getting arrested. What does he do?
The fact that you're betting on the game, your judgment is impaired and tainted.
They had several United States attorneys in the room, FBI agents, all grilling me about fixing games.
Blah, 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 blah. Snitches like a fucking canary bird. No surprise there. These guys aren't criminals, they're fucking opportunists. These guys, facing time. Now listen, they're not facing time like I faced. They're facing time of a couple of years in prison. This is the kind of shit they go flip on. Well, this guy Tim Donaghy flips. The guy Batista doesn't flip. The guy Martino, I think he says some stuff because they threatened his mother. That's what this show said. But this guy Tim Donaghy totally flipped in every single court record I read and every single article I read. In fact, the FBI was going to wire him up and have him make phone calls and set other people up. But all of a sudden, the story was leaked in 2007, and it was all over the New York papers, the New York Times, the New York Post, the Wall Street Journal, all over the papers, which the FBI says they didn't leak it, of course. Tim Donaghy says he didn't leak it, or anybody of that nature in the investigation. So they believe it was the NBA, and here's why. The FBI ended up going to David Stern at the time, who was the commissioner, and informing him what's going on in the NBA. Obviously, David Stern, was aghast and came out how bad it was. But when it was leaked, he came on, TV, did a press conference and all that, and said that
This is the most serious and worst situation that I have ever experienced.
it was an independent operation or a rogue referee.
We think we have here a rogue, isolated criminal.
Why do you think I think the NBA leaked it? Because the NBA is trying to cover this fucking shit up. They don't want everybody in the world to know it's a vast problem in the NBA. I don't know if it is today. Personally, I don't. But I do think people are human, and people are going to make mistakes, or people are going to do shit that, to make money. Again, we could talk about police. We could talk about any job out there that's good and bad. There's good cops and there's bad cops. Well, I'm sure there's good referees, and I'm sure there's bad officiating in any sport.
60 NBA referees were fucking questioned on gambling. 45 admitted to yes.
Does a person's behavior, things that happen in their life come into play? Absolutely. Me as a gangster, I wanted to get to referees. I ended up getting to political figures, and I had inside information on a city because I bribed and got officials that were on my side, so to speak. And it's usually not with just money. It's usually with drugs or women or guys or something. You're going to get something on somebody, and then you're going to have it. Well, you don't know what's going on with a guy's life. And before you know it, he needs money because there's cancer, or he needs money for something happened to his child, or needs money for whatever. Or he's just a childhood friend to somebody, and before you know it, he's given inside information or throwing games. If you don't think that's happening today, then you're naive. And I don't care what sport it is. I don't care if it's soccer. I don't care if it's football or basketball or baseball. And again, I'm not saying these are corrupt. I'm saying there's always people involved in the bright positions to make outcomes of games more predictable. Let's just call it that. Instead, it's throwing the games. All this guy, Tim Donaghy, got was 15 months in prison. Did you hear what I just said? He went to a camp in Pensacola, Florida, and the guy actually moved to Sarasota, Florida, but he ended up going to a camp in Pensacola, Florida. A camp, mind you. Think of that, a fucking camp. Well, the guy, Batista, he also got 15 months, and so did the other guy, Martino. That's it, 15 months. People made upwards, they're saying, of $100 million. Some numbers are up to $200 million of what these guys are making.
You could lose $3 million one day, win $6 million the next day.
Now, Tim Donaghy, to this day, he wrote a book too. Even as late as 2017, he says that the NBA is still either telling officials or suggesting to officials certain teams get better calls because they want the playoffs to go further. Do I believe that? Absolutely. It's $1 billion industry, the NBA, and TV rights and TV games generate millions upon millions of dollars. And when there's that kind of money involved, there's a lot of corruption that goes on. You can believe that, and I believe that with all my heart. Tim Donaghy ended up getting also fined $500,000, and he had to pay restitution to the NBA for $30,000. And Donaghy, again, little brushes with the law. Tim Donaghy ended up getting arrested in 2017. He says it was because to protect his daughter because he thinks she was doing drugs. That could be true. It's like me getting arrested now. If you thought I'd do something stupid enough to get arrested that way, that's not going to happen. But I understand it. Going over this whole case, and I want to put some things in here. It's amazing in my mind to see this whole thing unfold. I love shows like this because they're real, they're true to a degree. Always remember that. You know, when I wrote my book, I made it 100% book. 100% true. I didn't want to bullshit. So when they make a TV movie of me, and I hope they do, and I've been discussing that, it's going to be 100% good, bad, and good, bad, and indifferent. I believe in that. I really do. I think something like that has to be done like that. So that's number one. This whole thing I read, and not only read and watched and researched, there's multiple articles on this. Do I think these people are the devil? Absolutely not. Do I think they should get life in prison or mega years? Absolutely not. I just want people to understand what we're doing with people with drugs. We're putting people who either do or sell a little bit of drugs in prison for many, many, many years. And when you get characters like this doing the same thing, only with money, I don't get it. Some people say, well, drugs kill people. Well, so does gambling. People lose their lives in gambling every day, and by stress or by jumping off a building, losing fortunes, losing jobs, losing everything. And it's an addiction like anything else. And for us to be putting people in prison for many, many, many years for gambling would be wrong, just like it's wrong with the drugs. So I'm not asking anybody for sentence. I don't hate this Tim Donaghy or any of these characters. They're part of what I'm glad comes out to show that people are human. And don't think you out there should be sitting on a high horse that, oh, I wouldn't do that. Trust me, you don't know what you do. I mean, people look at me and say, Larry, you are a product of your environment. You know, you shouldn't get as much time. Whether that's true or not, it's for other people to say. I got what I got. I did my time, and I'm out here now trying to educate even you guys that people are people. This show is about people, and that's it. This guy, Tim Donaghy, now lives in Sarasota. He manages rental properties. Guess he had enough money hidden, or he had enough money stashed that seems like he's doing pretty well right now. Now, in that case, I don't know what more Tim Donaghy should do. In my mind, nothing. I want you to go back and look at this show. I really do. Netflix. I don't care. You know, I don't get anything from anybody for suggesting to watch something. But this is a pretty good show to watch betting scandals, which I understand so well. We used to have scams set up like this all the time. We'd try to get an edge, period. And that's what they did. And you know what it is? I always said, people go, man, that's a fixed game. Be on the right side of the fix. That's all I say. Be on the right side of the fix. That's all you have to do, and you will be going. Tim Donaghy has a book called Blowing the Whistle, The Culture of Fraud in the NBA. I think I'm gonna get that and check it out. I'm also gonna start doing a couple other reviews. I watched a read called Operation Odessa, which is about some guys in my time down in South Florida, which is real good. You guys will love that. As far as this whole entire story, I think there's a lot of half-truths in the movie. I really do, in the show. So when you watch it, you tell me if you believe they were, I call them throwing games, calling fouls, calling walks, calling stuff on players to either lower or higher a score of a game, or foul a guy out. You foul a basketball player out, and they don't have the best player. If you don't think that means something, it means all the difference in the world. So remember that. And with that said, I think we did enough on this, because I just want you to know things are going on today just like it did when I was out there. Don't think they're not, okay? Things are going on today as much as ever, because people are people. On a side note, I want to thank you for all giving me great support for some stuff I've been doing. Meaning, like, you know, still coming out with a video when I was fucked up a while ago. If you haven't seen that, that was a couple videos ago. Some people say, Larry, you look like you're tired a lot. Yes, I do videos at night a lot because it's quiet. I do a lot of other stuff during the day. No excuse. I will keep trying to put out the content that I know you guys like. And being straight up, that's just what I am, a straight shooter, and I hope you like that. With that said, everybody, please stay safe. Make good choices. Go have fun. Watch a game. Just put it in the back of your head. Is it fixed? I do. I still watch them. I still love them, and I love sports. So have a great day, everybody. Please stay safe. Make good choices, and I'll see you next time.